Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Sunday night coffee talk on Radical Geek. I see the warden is here, and Strong 71 is here, and Stacy is here first and very early. I know more people will join us in a few minutes, and hopefully not too many people are thrown off by the time change. So let's see. Oh, and the warden says they're ear hustling while they have dinner. They're having pork ribs with two styles of coleslaw and pickled onions. Ooh, I love pickled onions. Especially, we have a barbecue place here that it's probably the best in the city, and they have pickled onions, and I don't know, they're just like extra special. So, whew, brr. It's cold in my studio tonight. I don't know about the rest of you, but it was like gorgeous and beautiful and 70 a couple days ago, and today it's been like 15, and even with our heat running, it is still very chilly inside the house. But you know, that's okay. We're gonna have like a nice warm coffee and some warm dinner here in a minute. Yeah, an interesting dinner. Kind of looking forward to it. I think it's going to be quite tasty. So, I say that, except for, I didn't actually test the recipe. Time got away from me this weekend. So I put everything together that I thought would be appropriate, including the changes from converting to an outdoor deep fry to an inside the house air fry. So should be interesting. Hey, Raikwen, nice to see you. Oh, and Renee's still getting her new tattoo done. That's not a surprise to me. I saw when she posted and she was heading there, and I thought that was a good possibility, because it takes us. The last time I got a tattoo, it took hours and hours, and also because I know everybody at the tattoo shop, it means in addition to getting tattooed, I had to socialize, and then I talked to the other customers, and then I spend time with the owner, and then we go, and then inevitably we're like, hey, who was hungry? And then we have dinner, and then we have coffee, and then we're back at the tattoo shop, and yeah. So I didn't expect, I don't really know anybody who just goes in, gets a tattoo, and then goes home. But of course I walk in that little circle, so you never know. So let's see. I see Raikwen has joined us, and Blue Dove is here, and J Dog's here. Exchange Student 2 has joined us. The warden, let's see, is asking Raikwen, yes, Raikwen, what are you having for dinner? And let's see. I'm just trying to see the comments. Man, for some reason, I'm struggling to see my screen today. Oh, Exchange Student has bacon in the oven. Bacon also sounds good. But tonight I'm making Cowboy Kent Rollins spam balls, only keto-fied and done in the air fryer. Because at 15 degrees outside, you ain't going out there with your big Dutch oven and heating up the oil and deep frying. It's just not happening. And I do not love deep frying inside the house. Oh, and the warden says they've never had a tattoo, but his cousin is a tattoo artist. Getting tattooed is not for everybody, but for people who love them, then one is never enough. So, but I'm really cold, so I'm going to start talking about the percolator, and people who miss can watch the replay. So, hey, Blue Dove, good to see you. And hey, Gigi's here. Nice to see you as well. So, I don't know how many people have used a percolator before, or if it's been a while, but this is really some very old artisan technology. And I say technology even though when we think of technology, we think about like computers and all that kind of stuff. I see Raikwen says that it was 20 this morning, but now it's 50. Yes, it's supposed to warm up here tomorrow, so it's going to stay cold overnight. And all I'm saying is I'm hoping that it really happens tomorrow, that it gets all the way up to 55, because I took my bike off the indoor trainer, and so now I need to ride it, but it means outdoors, and about 50 is where my limit is. So I know a lot of people who can go out and ride in the snow and all kinds of weather, but I have Raynaud's that gets flared by the cold, so I definitely try not to. So the percolator has several pieces here. It has the stem, and it's a straw and has the hole right through it, and that's going to go right into your pot. The pot is just a basic empty pot. It has a spout, and inside there are holes for the spout, very similar. I don't think I can show you the holes because my percolator is black speckle, but so, and the holes start like right about here in the spout. And so what you do is you're going to have your spout, and it goes into the pot, and then you have your filter, which is like this little cup, and it has holes in the bottom of it, and then you top it with a lid, which also is perforated, and that allows for like some steam escape, but also keeps the warmth in and all of the heat, and helps it keeps the grounds from expanding outside the cup. Now the holes here are pretty significant, and for the most part, you learned that percolator coffee sometimes gets grounds. I'm going to tell you that I'm a cheater, and I take a coffee filter and I make a little hole in the bottom and trim the top off and put it in there to hold my grinds in. You use a coarse grind in there. So, Hungry Heath, you say you don't like Spam, but if you just remember that it's ham, it's basically ham. And it's just been ground up and then put into a form with some gelatin. So once you add enough other flavors to it, it's actually not as bad as it sounds. But all right, so anyway, so your percolator, you usually use a pretty coarse grind because of how large the holes are. But what's going to happen is I actually, because I cheat with my little paper filter, was able to go down a grind size. So I'm all the way at a nice 3. Stop and smell my grinds, of course. So you can see it's, it's not exactly as fine as we've had for some brews, but it's got that nice little sandy texture to it. I may have ground too much because I know that I don't want to put quite that, it's I have an 8-cup pot, and I think I ground like I was going to brew 14 cups, not thinking. So I'll have to grind some more for my morning pot. But you just put your grinds right into your percolator. Being careful not to put it into the straw. I sometimes put my finger over the straw so I keep it out of there. And if you're smart, instead of doing it like this, you'll put it all right on there. Maybe. There you go. And that's kind of helpful as well. So you can see how it fits together. And we'll drop it right in. Just finish putting my coffee in. As you can tell, I really want my cup of coffee. It's cold. I'm cranky and tired. And I know I need to go to bed earlier. So... but I'm definitely feeling the fact that I stayed out late. It wasn't really actually all that late, you guys. I went to a little party last night and had some amazing, amazing food. But I stayed there until about 9:15, and most of you who have known me for a while know very well that I'm usually in bed by 8 o'clock. So by the time I got home, and by the way, just give it a little tap to kind of level it off, my coffee. And I put my little lid on there. I did have a little bit of extra grind, so I ground 80 because I was thinking like a nice hearty extra strong coffee, but looking at what's in my container, I probably used more like a 75. In your percolator for 8 to 10 cups, you're going to use between 60 and 80 grams of coffee, depending on your preference on strength. Well, actually, since it's a little bit finer, be absolutely good with that. And the next thing we're going to do is we take our canister, and I will be putting my water in here. You just start it off. The water is not hot, but it's not totally frigid either because I didn't want it to take 900 years to brew. But you have to heat it up. I have to kind of take a better look in here. You want to make sure when you fill it, you're not filling it beyond the holes. You just fill it up underneath, which sometimes seems like, oh, but then my coffee, I'm not making a full pot, but you are, because it gets wider at the base. Just double checking myself here. It's going to be the full amount of coffee. These pots don't get full all the way to the brim. It's crazy. And the only thing you do next is you just drop this carefully right in and you set it down. You close your lid. I turn on this heat over here. And you want it to be high, but not like all the way full bore broil. What we're going to do is we're going to wait now for the water inside to boil. And that's going to make it come up through the interior straw. And we'll see some, first what we'll see is some water shooting up into this little clear spot. And eventually that water is going to turn from clear to coffee colored. So let's see what we've got here. I see Stacy is, let's see. Stacy says they love Spam. A lot of good evenings. Blue Dove says their folks had a percolator for camping and hunting trips. Yep, and we'll talk about why you would have a percolator and stuff like that in a little while. Let's see. Oh, the warden said they had Spam sushi in Hawaii. I'll be talking about some of that in a little while as well. Blue Dove is going to take a quick shower. So, you know, safety first from a warning from J-Dog. Let's see. And, and Blue Dove says they used to have Spam and tomato sandwiches with the Spam sliced real thin and fried very crispy like bacon. Yep. And Hungry Heath says the Spam is Franken meat, so he'll eat it. It's just not his first choice. So, but yeah, so already I can see, and I know it doesn't, you kind of see it a little bit. My little clear part has turned fogged over. So that's a good sign that it's heating up. I can feel the heat radiating off here. Eventually it'll be too hot for me to touch it with my fingers, but it's not quite there yet. So, Warden is asking you about the taste of percolator versus pour over. So for me, they're just so completely different. They're both fantastic in their own ways. For me, the percolator is a much heartier, stick to your ribs kind of cup of coffee, whereas the pour over is a gentler, smoother coffee experience. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but trust me, it does. So I can hear it coming now to a boil. Well, it's not boiling, but I can hear that simmer of the water coming. I discovered that the reason I always think you guys can hear these things is because I can hear them clearly here, but evidently OBS and my boom mic are special noise canceling applications. So when they hear stuff that sounds really crazy or not good, it filters it out or at least backs it down automatically. I thought that was really cool. Like when I did the enchilada sauce and the blender was going, I thought the blender was going to blow everything out. And then when I went to edit the video, it was not too bad. So I just left it like that. But evidently the microphone and OBS took care of it all for me. Let's see. Oh, and Strong says they made the ribs and slaw for tonight also. I made a coleslaw and I love it. So anyways, let's start about this Spam. I took the Spam and I think that I saw that Cowboy Kent Rollins grated his on your old-fashioned grater, but I took it and I diced mine, and then I went through and gave it a smash, and I just feel like it's going to have a little bit more texture. My percolator just started boiling. Clear water is popping up, and so now I'm going to turn it down just a smidge because It's perking, and it's just a couple seconds between each perk. Once your water comes to a boil, you don't want it perking super hearty and in fast succession. You want to hear that like 1 to 2 pops every couple seconds. It's an important thing that people forget about. So it's just going to keep going. Right now it's popping up clear because what's happening now is the water is starting to permeate the coffee and do what we would normally talk about it being the bloom. I see Cool Kid Ketos have joined us. Hey everyone. Anyway, so I'll keep going back and forth. My water's still clear. It's still burbling. It's just the right pace. So we'll just let that go. And it's only going to take a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to let it sit. Stacy says they're making egg bites. But I thought I wanted to make sure that my texture of my Spam was not so mushy, because I put a lot of wet ingredients into it. So let's see how they come out. I have my green chilies, and this is those Hatch green chilies, a 7505. I keep looking at my coffee so I can keep an eye out. The water coming up now has just started to turn a very light tan color. I have Spam on the brain. So Cowboy can't put only a can of the green chilies. This is from that big jar. I've got like 3/4 of a cup. It's a bit more than he used, but I really like green chilies, and so be it. So I've got those green chilies going. The other thing that he adds in is mayonnaise, which I assume is in place of eggs, which we're going to use anyway for an egg wash. And so I've got about a half a cup of mayonnaise to mix in there. And I used homemade. He recommends Duke's, but he's not keto. And, you know, I have no issue eating any other kind of mayonnaise. And we actually have Duke's at the house, and I love it. It's great. But, you know, if you're very picky, which, you know, you probably wouldn't be eating Spam. If you were, que sera. So the other thing that he added was he used fresh onion. And I actually took freeze-dried minced onion and freeze-dried minced garlic. Then I added dried chives, about a teaspoon of each of those, and then about half a tablespoon of ground black pepper. And then I also put in a half a teaspoon of cumin, because I really like cumin. And if we're going down that southwestern sort of flavor, it needs to be in there. So let me give that a partial mix before I add one more ingredient. And just to make sure it's kind of looking like it'll sort of hold together. If it's a little too moist, which it might be, the next thing I'm going to do is add a little pork rind crumbs to it. And Attila has joined us and is sharing a fun link for you about the Experiment podcast on Spam. So it's a little NPR resource for you for some Spam information. So double check here. Yeah, so now my perk is coming up nice and brown. I want to give it 2 minutes. And start. So I'm not sure what that's doing. Okay, so anyways, that's where I've got my first start on these Spam balls, and it might be a little moist. He is breading his balls with panko, so I have pork rind crumbs, porking good. Now this is the last of my plain, and so if I need more, I have ranch, which might be a weird mix, but the ranch doesn't have a super strong ranchy flavor, so it is what it is. Lost track. Just keeping an eye here. The last thing I have is shredded sharp cheddar, which it's doing that weird green screen thing again. But he put the shredded cheddar in there, and I think that'll give it a nice, delicious, cheesy flavor. So I'm in favor of it. 1000%. But he was maybe a little more cautious about throwing stuff in there. And so, you know, like I said, when I thought maybe it might be a little too moist. I know, and I've said it again, but that's okay because Renee is getting tattooed. And so it can traumatize her after the fact. So, anyways, now I've got like this weird Southwestern ham salad. But I would not eat it like this. I definitely feel like it's going to be better following the rules. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my coffee off. Stop this timer and just let it sit for a little bit to continue. It'll continue to steep. It's still perking, but it's slowed way down. And then I will be able to have my nice warm coffee. Well, I say that except for I'm about to start doing things with this globular mess. Here's what it looks like. It just literally looks like ham salad like you would buy at the supermarket. So I'm a little dubious about it holding together, but we're going to give it a good try. I've got my tray here. So let's see. Oh, and Cool Kid Keto says they were thinking of doing some shelf-stable keto-type foods to stock the pantry and bought a few cans of Spam on Friday. So one of the things is, in order to bread this, he says it needs an egg wash. So I'm going to crack 2 of my 3 eggs to start with and see how that goes. Lost my stirring fork. There we go. I'm just throwing stuff around. These are my gloves for forming the balls. And this is because we're going to bread it. And I have my pork rind crumbs here. And what we're going to do is form the ball and then dip it in the egg wash and then put it into the crumbs and right on here so we can start frying it. Let's see. Oh, more hellos. Oh, and Cool Kid Keto says they have cute dogs. Let's see. And Reichwin says they keep Spam and Vienna sausages in the pantry in case of emergencies. We keep canned chicken and canned tuna. The Spam is not something we generally keep around. But I don't know. Let's see how this is. It's not something that I've been like super. I have one more egg in case I need it. So I'm going to set my fork over here on a paper towel. And we'll know very quickly if I need to add pork rind crumbs to the mix to help bind it together more. Guys, the coffee. Oh. And now it's sitting here just waiting for me. And instead I'm going to be getting dirty. But let's see. So as it turns out, now Cowboy Kent made golf ball size balls, so we'll follow suit. I feel like I'm going to make more than he did, though, just from looking at my mix. I'll be perfectly honest. Oh, and Reichwin says to drop the ball in the pork rind, egg wash, then pork rinds again for better coverage. I kind of want it to be a little bit lighter. You're right that the double coating like that might be nice, but because the Spam is already so moist, rich, and fatty, I feel like I'm going to be happier doing just a single coat. A quick roll in the egg. And then right into the pork rinds. Just like a nice dusting. I didn't want a deep coating. Evidently, I'm going to get a big, heavy coating. Because they're already so you know, it's Spam and cheese and mayonnaise, so it's already lofty that I feel like a double coating breading would be too much. Now, if we were doing shrimp in these pork rind crumbs? Absolutely. I think the double coating would be the way to go. In fact, I bought some pork chops. I'm going to roll a couple of these balls up real quick. The pork chops that I bought are just your standard loin chops, but they were economical and we love them. I'm going to smoke a bunch of them so that we can and make some freezer meals. But I also think that I'm going to do some breaded chops, because I think that the breaded chops will be super nice and just something different that we don't have a lot of. Oh, Stacy says spam salad is good. Ground spam with ground hard-boiled eggs and dill pickle with mayo. That does sound tasty. All right. I think 3 is the max to throw into my little dish here with the eggs. So let me go ahead and do a round with some breading. So I'm interested. What did everybody else do this weekend? Why don't you... I shared already in the 2 Crazy Ketos about my adventures this weekend. So, but I'll talk about it here. I just spilled breadcrumbs all over my counter, of course. Wouldn't be a good cook if you were breading stuff and didn't make a mess. Had I been smart, I would have put a little paper towel down, but woulda, shoulda, coulda, whatever. It's just some breadcrumbs or some pork rind crumbs. You know what I'm saying. But goodness. Anyways, let's see. So I've been going to OhioCon for several years because my child loves it. And I thought, I just got involved in the tabletop because of course I did, which is board games, which I freaking adore. And as always, with any type of convention, there's always stuff happening. They always need people. They always need quality help. And this year, the head of the tabletop, I've been the assistant for several years, and I liked that. But the director of tabletops is no longer part of the organization. And so, as if I don't have like 9 million things to do, I said, I would like to throw my hat in the table. So I'm waiting to hear if they're going to, I guess they had 4 applicants for the position. It's an unpaid volunteer to run the tabletop division. So I'm waiting to hear for that. But in the meantime, they also said, by the way, we think tabletop should be in with all of the rest of gaming, which I think is a great idea. And so they invited me to their gathering post-convention, and it was really nice, but of course it's all people that I don't know, and so there was a lot of anxiety surrounding that. I actually had to psych myself out to get in out of the car, which is funny because I'm a pretty social person, but within my comfort zone. And this was definitely not my comfort zone. Pile of pork rinds. So I don't know. These are coming out pretty nice. I'm definitely not going to eat all of these tonight. So I might have some with breakfast. It's going to be competition, though, whether I would reheat these or use some of the taco meat that I made. Because, well, taco meat with eggs is also delicious. We just did our monthly shop, so we have a lot of options. Okay, I'm starting to be messier, and I don't know if that's a very nice thing, but that's what happens when you get down with a lot of things like this. They're very squishy. I know they'll fry up real nice, though. They feel nice. So I don't know if he was really making golf ball size, then I definitely made more than Cowboy Kent Rollins, because he made 6 to 8. And I've already got 7. And there's still quite a pile of Spam mix here, which I find interesting. Let me take a look here at the comments. Let's see. Oh, Reichwin is advising to also look at the canned ham. Hungry Heath and the warden say they recorded some videos. Some more greetings and hellos. Oh, Stacy hung out with their friends. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about their husband who's passed away. I'm glad that you were able to give your time to them. Because seeing people, especially when people will act normal surrounding after death, is so important. Let's see. Oh, and Strong is saying, I wonder if they can use the shredder or the food processor for the Spam. Absolutely, you can. I use the food processor to do the cheese and then put it in the dishwasher because I didn't want to clean it. So that was part of the whole dicing it up thought process there. Oh, this is getting so messy. How many times are you guys going to see me play with messy balls on this channel? We'll have to do some meatballs in the not too far future just to polish it off. Okay, so there'll be one final one. But I can only fit 3 in the egg wash. So let me just grab those. Fix my gloves a little bit. Fluff up the breading a little. I definitely don't want to switch to the ranch. But I am running low on the pork panko. They're definitely getting heavily coated. All that moisture from the mayo and stuff in the mix was definitely enough that I'm glad that we didn't do the double breading. I was a little bit, I was questioning my judgment there, but turns out I should not have done that. It's just fine and dandy. So they're getting bigger by the moment. I'm going to just press a little more breading on there. All right, but I am going to have to make at least 2 ranch ones. Let me throw that in there. I get rid of these gloves. Put this dish aside so you don't have to look at my giant bowl anymore. I'm going to clear this up real quick. Or at least a little bit, because I can't take it. And I guess we'll be using some ranch now. By the way, these Porking Good pork panko, it's easy enough to food process and make your own. But we had a keto store about an hour north from here go out of business, and they had a bunch of the ranch on their shelf. So instead of full price, I paid like $1 for the containers. So yeah, we'll be using the ranch. Let me take a look at the comments for a little bit here before I continue on and re-glove up. Oh, and Cool Kid Keto says that Hans says that Nicole will survive any emergency because they like to eat Vienna sausages. Well, that seems good too. I think, honestly, the fact that we can eat and a lot of stuff is not, while it may not be ideal, we're used to, being creative. And I think that helps a lot. Let's see. The comments kind of got mixed up here, so bear with me for a minute while I do some scrolling. That was the chopped ham comment. Oh, and Cool Kid Keto says they have tuna, canned chicken, sardines, and now Spam. We haven't bought sardines in a while. I don't know why. We like sardines, and it makes a nice salad. It goes well on a little sandwich or with salad. So, let's see. Cool Kid Keto says they went to a concert on Friday, but worked all weekend. The daylight savings time is not fun when you get up at 3:30 a.m. for work. No kidding. That makes it so hard, and we do get up extra early for work here. So, let's see. Reichwin says, find a good canned chicken that you like, and that they always keep meat in the freezer and in the pantry. a lot of dried vegetables, and now the egg whites for the PSMF bread. Yes, yeah, I think that the powdered egg stuff has been quite nice to have around. Uh, I saw a YouTube channel where they freeze dried eggs and then it made it into powder, and I kind of it made me think for just a minute, and then I realized where the heck would I put a big giant device like that? I have too many kitchen gadgets. And Raikkonen confirms with me that the food processor will be totally fine for the Spam. 100% it will. The warden says they meal prepped today and did some house cleaning. Yeah, house cleaning sucks. I agree. Let's see. Stacy says they use the meat grinder. Let's see. More commentary. Oh, and Lisa says everything sounds good because they haven't eaten all day. Well, yeah, I have to say everything sounds great to me when I have not eaten. So let's see. And Hungry Heat says his favorite way to shred cheese is in the food processor, and then to do a batch of pork panko to grab up all the debris. Oh, that's smart thinking. And Raikkonen says, hooray to the giant glass bowl. And Stacy says they also cook some roast in the Instapot. I find using the Instapot for a roast beef, when I get those Aya Browns and then I want to slice it up like lunch meat, is fantastic. You do 4 minutes on high pressure and then let it natural pressure release. And it is absolutely perfect. Then you just take it out and you use the meat slicer. It comes out so, so good. I'm going to put this back where I was already making a mess so that I don't have more crumbs in my spot here. Oh, a little piece of it's starting to get too mushy. We'll just fix that right up with the pork panko, right? All right, I got to make some room on here for one more Spam ball. By the way, as they're sitting here, they're sort of firming up just a little bit, which is maybe that's a good thing to know for the future. In case I suddenly develop some kind of Spam balls craving and need to know how to do this, more than a couple times. They might be fun to take to a party too. Oh, Heath, your jokes. I'm not saying that one out loud. All right, now that I've got all of this mess, I'm going to scoop these right into the eggs because they can't be reused. So I can put this. And somewhere I thought I had a lid, maybe not. Well, that was dumb of me. All right. Let me just clean up for a second. One last container. Here's my fork. And let me just try and clean up some of these crumbs. It's too much for me to just leave sitting here. It's driving me crazy, which I know seems silly, but I kind of wish I had like a little dust buster to clean up my space. I think I'm just making it worse, but good enough now. That's much better. Anyways, before we get too far along, I'm going to get ready to put these in there. I am going to show you my coffee. Check that out. It is absolute perfection. And by the way, I'm not drinking this whole pot of coffee tonight. So tomorrow morning, it's going to be some lovely iced coffee. It'll be delightful. And there you go. You can see it is rich and extra, extra dark. Perfection. By the way, the coffee that I used tonight was my single origin Ethiopian that I got at Costco. I didn't need my extra egg for the coating. Let me just move this. I'm going to turn my air fryer on because I didn't preheat it. Air fry, we want it at 350. And I'm going to put 7 minutes. We'll keep an eye on it. 7 minutes should be fine. And I'm going to hit start to preheat. Oh, and Raikkonen says I need a food tray to work on so I don't have to clean the tablecloth. Yeah, I know. I should have brought down and I should have brought one to do that. And just some days I just don't think. But that's all right because after the live stream, every Monday I come and I strip the table and throw it in the wash. So it's fine. That's why I wanted extra tablecloths so that I can just do them once a week instead of constantly washing them. Oh, it's really hot. I have to let it rest for a minute. It smells fantastic. And then, oh, and Stacy says they have an eye around that they haven't cooked yet. So yeah, if you like the rare roast beef, definitely that's the way to go. And the other thing with the roast beef I've done is use the rotisserie. But that definitely cooks it longer and not that nice rare that you're looking for when you're trying to extra thin slice the eye around. Oh, and Strong says they're trying to get the tax paperwork together this weekend, seeing as they're here and not being motivated as they should. I agree, this is better than taxes. And I forgot one thing down here, and I'm hoping that Attila is paying attention and will be so kind as to pop downstairs to the kitchen and grab a pair of tongs and bring them down here to the studio. Possibly he's playing a video game at this point in time and may not do that. And I don't know where anyone else in the house is hanging out, but I don't know that they're on the live stream, so it is what it is. Worst case, well, that's why I have forks and spoons, but tongs would be a lot easier for flipping halfway through. We'll make it work. Regardless. Excellent coffee. Really tasty. It does get that little extra bit of slightly bitter, but not like in a bad way. It's definitely, like I said, when the pour over is a much softer, smoother. The percolator is a hearty. So kind of makes me think of like comparing wines. You know, you get that jammy fruit forward wine, or you can get like a smoky sort of oak wood, very dry sort of wine. So and so that's when we're comparing, and I see how kind. There will be hands here with a tongs, just one pair. Thank you.
Oh.
Yes. And I get choices, silicone or not silicone. But we're cooking, so you know, for good luck. So let's see. Elaine suggests that I need one of those old-fashioned dustpans with the little whisk that we use to clean the table off. Yes, that's like for fancy people. I forgot about those. That would be fun. One of those, kind of like a vintage thing to have. Let's see. And Strong says every year they set the intention to be better organized for tax season, so it's not as hard as stressful. But every year, come February and March, they're in the same situation. You could always look into getting an accountant. There are often places, not like an H&R Block, but an actual accountant, and they're often not as expensive as an HR Block, but it will make your life a lot easier if you struggle to get your taxes done. They can be gold too. Sometimes they find things that, you know, even someone like myself who is very familiar with taxes and really digs in and can find all of the little loopholes and such. A second pair of eyes. There's my timer that says it's heated up. slide the tray in, and there we go. I'm still brushing. There's hardly anything now. It's just like a little teeny sprinkle here and there, and I just was making me nuts. Oh, heaven. And then and Blue Dove says they're back, squeaky clean. Heard about tabletop and messy balls while they were listening in. Yep, sounds good. Oh, yeah, so back to that. I threw my head in the towel. I threw I threw the towel into the ring. That's what it is. That's the phrase. So to be the tabletop top level, not just the second in command, and not just in charge of the library section, the whole tabletop area. And I think it'll be a good time if I do it, but we'll see. So I went to that party. I met a lot of the people there, but the person who was hosting, I didn't know there were people as elaborate and crazy as me, but he went all out. He made a Wagyu brisket, and let me tell you, it was hard to control myself and be reasonable. And especially when he's like, make sure that you keep eating that because I know you're keto. And I'm like, okay, but there are other meats and I do want other things, even though it was phenomenal. It was just spectacular. But that was not the best thing I ate all night. He made steaks that were pretty good with a compound butter on them. And so that was really great. He made some chicken wings that he smoked and then they fried to crisp them. And those were really good. I ate a couple of them naked, and then he made a teriyaki, but it didn't have the sugar in it, so it was really nice. I got to eat one of those. And then the very, very best thing that I ate that night, aside from my cheese ball, he made short ribs. And let me tell you, they were the best freaking short ribs I have ever eaten. Oh my God. They were melt in your mouth spectacular. I consider myself to be pretty awesome with the smoker. And I make some mean short ribs, but I'm going to tell you, these were the best. And I was just super happy. Hey, thanks, Ryquin. And just so you know, this is not a replacement for my regular job. I'll be working my regular job forever. I don't know what's happening in my... Oh, it's the air fryer. Suddenly everything was vibrating and I could feel like the whole table. I couldn't figure out what it was, and it's the air fryer. Oh, these are going to need way more time. I'm going to add more minutes to it right now. So I went from, it was 7, it had gone down to 4. I just raised it to 10. So 13 minutes is so far, and it's at 350. I actually think the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to boost the temperature. So 400. Just from looking at them, they're very moist, and I think that they're going to need that extra temperature. I was following his Cowboy Rollins temperature for his oil, because usually with the air fryer you need a lower temperature, but looking at them through the screen, they were looking kind of soft, which maybe because I used more moisture. So I boosted the temperature to 400 and raised the time to 13 total minutes, and we'll see how it goes. Halfway through, we'll roll them over. Oh, I see Renee's back. No worries about being late. We're here all the time. I look forward to seeing the new tattoo. did you get? I mean, I know we can't see it all the time, but we can't see it, but tell us what it looks like. Wait, what's the vomit emoji for? Aw. So, let's see. Oh, just more hellos. And by the way, I don't have like a big history lesson or anything prepared tonight. I don't know what happened to me. It's just, you know, it's one of those off nights. These things happen. It's not the end of the world. But I did make a great cup of coffee, and for that, I am super grateful. I highly recommend you get the percolator. Now, I did mention that it was an old thing, and, oh, well, I can't help it, and I'm sorry that it comes up in, like, every stream. It's an important term for cooking. Anyway, so I will tell you the other thing, too, is if you don't have one, you should pick up a camp stove and some of the butane to fuel it. Oh, thanks for messaging me. Renee said they messaged me so that way I can see their tattoo. But I highly recommend. They're not expensive, they're real cheap, and they are great in an emergency or power outage. Yes, I know that you can go outside and you can cook on your grills or your griddles because they're powered by propane, but not sometimes it's just a nice thing to have. But it's super handy, and things like this, you will always have coffee because you can heat water on it, you can heat soups in a pan, you can use the percolator. Percolator requires no electricity. If you have a fire, you can perk your coffee. So if you have a big power outage, having this is a really good thing for your little emergency preparedness. A lot of people buy the induction burners, and I keep saying I would like to because it looks nice. But I know that it might not look as fancy, but I find that my camp stove just is very good. It's excellent at what it does, and I've really liked it. So I'm going to take a look at these spam balls. I think that I would like to consider flipping them or seeing if they are going to be just too soft still, and kind of make some choices here. Oh, they really spread out. Where's my little glove? Here it is. Let's see. They're hilarious, guys. They are very, very soft and very, very cheesy. I might have made a mistake with tongs. Nope, nope. Oh, it's going to work. This one is maybe a little too soft. Let's go with the flipping it quickly. They're very cheesy, and so they're not retaining their ball form. Maybe I should have left them this way longer, but I think it's going to be smart to flip them over and get the cheese going. Have you guys tried like the chicken nuggets in the air fryer, the ones that you use the canned chicken for? I've made those a few times, but never on like a live stream. I'm sure there's like 800 recipes, but the number one person I recall who made them the most was Christy Davis from Keto Village, and it was one of the ones. So they're not going to be balls because they're a little loose, but they will. Some of them will be ball-ish. Let me flip this over. And I see Raikwan has asked when I got my, oops. Boy, some of these, let me scoop this. I'm struggling with a little bit because they are so soft. Just flip it. It's all the cheesy goodness in there. These two touching. Let me slide this one over. There we go. One last flip. Try and reshape that one just a smidge. Anyways, if you haven't made those chicken nuggets, they're a great item as well. Rest. And they're a lot of fun. If you want, I can't remember if I've made them on or not. I'll have to look it up. So I've got another 7 minutes, and that should probably do it for those. And I think they'll have to rest for a few minutes before I can eat one or scoop it onto the plate. So let's see. Combination about the moist. Word. Sorry, said it again by accident. Raikkonen was asking about where I got my camp stove. It's really hard for me to say because I've had it probably, I don't know, 25 years. I don't know. I got this one. I don't know, man. I've got it a long time ago. But it came from one of a few places because I was still, it would have been either from Walmart or from Cabela's, Sears. I'm just trying to think of things where we would have bought camping equipment from. And those are the three places I'm thinking of that were good candidates. I'm pretty sure Walmart does carry such devices. And the butane, I just buy at the restaurant supply store. Oh, and Lisa is asking me to repeat the kind of coffee I used and what grind. So I'll go over that again. I used that single origin Ethiopian coffee that I bought. And that was a light roast because I knew I was doing the percolator, which I was going to and really let it go, which I did. And it's fantastic. Which, by the way, when I thought it was initially tart, but when I first poured it, now that it's had a bit of time to rest, it's totally mellowed and it's just utter delight. And I used a 3 grind medium, and normally you would go 1 coarser, like 4, on your grinder for the percolator because the holes in the filter are big. But I cheated and I cut up a coffee filter to fit inside the percolator filter so I could use a slightly finer grind. Oh, and Blue Dove says Serious Keto came out with a new video about using cheese and pork panko as breading, and mentions that they think a lot of us were already doing the same with Parmesan cheese. Yes, actually, I do that. I do that all the time. I love using cheese and pork panko to bread stuff. I do use Parmesan most, but I've used cheddar because I really love cheddar. So. And I actually think that I might have been able to get away without doing the egg dip here. I feel like that added some extra liquid that because I made such a extra juicy, is that better, mixture for the Spam stuff, that it's possible that I didn't need that egg wash and it would have stuck right into the pork panko. But whatever. Worst case, I'm going to take a peek because it has 3 minutes. They're pretty soft, but they are frying up. I'm going to say that I'm going to bump this to 5. Which would make the total cook time 15 minutes. Oh, I see Air Frying Aunties joined us. They're ear hustling on their way home. Drive safe. I hope that your retreat was extra awesome and you got some really good crafting done. I look forward to when you get home, if we have time for you telling us about what you made. I love hearing all of that stuff. So, oh, and Caboodle Bryce joined us. Says they're going to have to listen about the percolator. Should be good. OP's joined us. Good to see you this evening. So what have the caboodles been up to? I've been I'm hoping I didn't miss it. I might look back at some of Serious Keto's videos. I know that he was working on the dough, and I knew Black Tie Kitchen was testing some of it as well, where he was making the dough that was going to be very multifunctional. I'm very curious about getting my hands on that and experimenting with it. But for the moment, I don't know. But also, someone sent me this morning in an IM the old pull apart bread by All I Dream About Is no, was it All I Dream About Is Food? I can't remember which blog it is, but it was the pull apart bread. And I love the pull apart bread. And I had forgotten all about it. I haven't made it in like a couple years, but it's really good. And that might be going on a future stream because it is really tasty and it's excellent for party prep. So, oh, Blue Dove says, yes, use cheddar on chicken. Now, for me, I actually like to just mix my chicken and the cheese and the pork panko all together. And then I form it up with, I just make it almost like you're making a meatloaf mixed only with chicken. And I use the cheddar cheese and then I just form it into nugget shape and air fry it. I don't find that it needs to be actually breaded like we did here. In fact, I'm sort of wondering if I might want to try these again and just mix it all together like a meatloaf and air fryer. Okay, yeah, Blue Dove, that sounds familiar. Blue Dove says he released a cracker recipe, but not the ultimate multifunction dough yet. Okay, sounds about right, and that makes more sense. I'm going to take another peek. Looks good, although one of them went flat. A couple of them went flat. That's all right, so they'll be crispy spam fritters, we'll call them. But they look and smell really good. I'm not sad. I thought I might be, but let's see. Oh, OP says that they've had to put their cat to rest. I'm so sorry. That is just so heart-wrenching. It is a hard thing to go through. Yeah, and Blue Dove says that mixing everything together sounds way easier than breading nuggets. I agree, and I wish I had thought of it before I did all of this process because I'm now like 1,000% certain that had I just mixed it all together and then shaped balls, that it would be slightly more successful than this is. Although I'm not going to say it's not successful, I'm just saying it's not ball shaped anymore. They're more like little fritter cakes or slightly eggs. So, but again, not sad because they do look delicious. Oh, and the caboodle says he's been smoking an arm roast and pork loin roast today and babysitting the smoker. Karen went on a bike ride, so they've been busy in all of the best ways. Certainly sounds like it. So I didn't list a recipe for next week's stream. Are there any requests for things we might want to try? And oh, right when you're asking if it would work better if I used less mayo. Yeah, that's true. I probably could have used less mayo, but then, less mayo. I find it interesting how much I really love and enjoy mayonnaise in dishes these days. You know that way back pre-keto, I despised mayonnaise. Not just a little bit, a lot. Like I was a card-carrying member of the I Hate Mayonnaise Club, which is a real thing. And now I positively loved it. A big part of it was changing my eating plans as well as just in general taste change when you go keto. So, all right. So here we go. You can see they're all nice and dark, and the coating is absolutely lovely, but there is a lot of grease, which may account for some of the softness. And they did spread, and that is probably because I had too much mayonnaise and green chilies in there. But oh, you can't go wrong with that flavor. So I'm going to grab one. They are very soft. Uh-oh. I probably could have used a spatula. Let me scoop under it. There's one. Get this one right here up front. All right. So here's how they look on the plate. You can see one of them, I took a little piece out of it with the tongs. They're way too hot for me to just cut a fork into it. And they're already looking like they're getting a little bit more solidified as they sit. Not this last one here. But they're easier to slide around on the tray already. I can't wait for these to cool down. Once they cool down, they'll firm up a little bit. I'm going to share a picture in the morning with these underneath a fried egg. I think they'll be absolutely perfect. I'm tempted to grab one more, but I think that I also want to be reasonable with my intake. Oh, they're definitely firming up as the cheese cools down. They're already easier to slide around and grab. Perfect. It's just the molten lava cheese. Yeah, I'm not unhappy at all. And I think in the summer we'll try this recipe again outside and deep fry them. But let me get the fork so you can hear. Well, you probably can't hear. All right, it does have a crispity, crunchy scrape to the breading. Yeah, it's too soft for you to hear it on the camera. But trust me, it's making that crispity, crunchy scrape sound. Like a nice breading is. So, awesome. Let me cut in there. Ooh, a big pile of steam came out, so it's probably too hot to bite. It actually smells good, which I didn't think it would. Mmm. Yeah, it does taste good. Surprisingly good. If you've ever eaten and you remember pre-keto, and I know not everybody will have had these, but green chili chicken enchiladas, and they were made with like a creamy white sauce with the hatch green chilies, and it was mixed in with the chicken. And then you put the cheese on top of it, and they were just rolled up in the tortillas. It's kind of reminiscent of that flavor with the cheddar cheese and the breading. I kind of thought, I was a little concerned that it would have an overly spammy taste, but the chili and the cheese completely takes over it. So yeah, so I just need to adjust the recipe to put a little less mayo in it. I definitely think I'm glad that I added the cumin and the dried onions, the freeze-dried onions and garlic, because I think had I used fresh, that they would have been too liquidy. Mm. Oh, they definitely will be great with the fried egg. Blue Dove says, oh yes, the sour cream chili enchiladas. Love them. That's definitely that's the flavor profile I'm getting. I mean, not to be too indulgent, but I would almost think that if I had had one of those egg life wraps and I fried it up a little bit, that you could throw this in there and it would absolutely be even more towards that profile. Let me look back and I feel like I missed some kind of comment. Oh, OP is asking what we did, but Raikkonen already summarized it. Grind up the spam, add mayo, cheese, and spices, roll into balls, dip in egg wash, pork rind powder, bake at 400, and that was for 15 degrees, or 15 degrees, 15 minutes. And then OP says they want to find a way to do a batter using the pork rind and or the power protein flour because fish battered makes them very happy. You absolutely can bread your fish in pork panko and then bake it off, and it's just fine. It's definitely not like a batter like you would for like a fish and chips, though. It's just coated and crispy. So more of like a fried fish versus a fish and chips, fish fry fish. Yeah, as it cools, they're firming up as the cheese is not so molten, and that's helped a lot. Oh, Elaine's saying we should wrap them in bacon. Reikland's saying maybe we should try sour cream instead of mayo. I think that the mayo is necessary. I think that if you were going to sub out instead of mayo, you could just use an egg and bind it like a meatloaf. In fact, I'm certain that because I use the air fryer, that I should the next time I try this kind of recipe, I'm gonna do what I do with the chicken nuggets and just mix it all together instead of dipping and coating it. I think it will heavily benefit. And just to show you how it firmed up, there you go. So you can see it's no longer more liquidy. It just needed to cool down a little bit, and they're fine now. Oh, and J-Dog's asking Renee about the new tattoo. Renee hasn't posted it yet, but on Facebook, but the tattoo is out on Instagram. So that'll be interesting to go look up. We'll have to give it some likes. Oh, Blue Dove is saying, is asking if anyone's tried a savory keto chow tempura style batter. I have not. I don't know if it would work, but I feel like we might be able to come up with something using the egg white protein. I just don't know yet. There would be a lot of experimentation and a lot of failures. Let's see. Oh, and Stacy says we could use bacon spam. Now, one thing I will tell you is this is salty. And you all know how much we love salt. This is definitely salty. And I'm going to say it must be uber salty because all day long, you know, when you know that your electrolytes are off, you know, like I drank my my Relight and it tasted like extra candy. You know, I ate some butter on a piece of bread of the egg bread, and that tasted like it was frosting. What else did I eat? I ate something. I can't remember. But yeah, so everything has been like super off kilter in the flavor profile, which let me know that my electrolytes were off, and this tastes salty. So, you know, definitely that's something to know about Spam, by the way. It is like a salt bomb. So when you do your seasonings, don't add any extra salt, even though it's tempting because we normally salt everything. This is the one time when you don't need to add any extra salt. A little piece of this. I don't know if this will show on the camera, but let me bring it up to you because I cut a hunk of it off. And let's see. I don't know if you can see the texture there, but there you go. I definitely made Spam fritters instead of Spam balls, but you can see that they've come out pretty nice. Definitely, I was surprised because I definitely came in making this recipe with sort of a negative attitude. And I'm pleasantly surprised and really happy with it. It's actually going to probably be a recipe that happens every so often. Now, I did have to buy extra Spam because I had planned on like testing first. And like I said, things got away. But this means I have another can of Spam. So I don't have a recipe lined up for next week. Or do I? I don't remember. I don't think I do. I think I was open to ideas or suggestions. And if you have a request, I'll do that. But I do have an extra can of Spam. We could make a keto musubi, which I think someone mentioned earlier, having a Spam in Hawaii. And we could do that because I do have cauliflower rice. So, and I have enough things that I could do to make the fake rice portion with the cauli rice and the other flavors. We do have Spam that we could fry. And I do have seaweed, which is a good source of iodine. Owen Reichman says this mixture would be good stuffed in a poblano pepper and baked. Yes, it would. It would be spectacular. I will say it's greasy. Not that that's a problem, but it does mean that maybe I should continue using the fork. Except for it's fun that I'm picking it up. I really like, let's see. I forgot what I was saying mid-sentence. I've totally lost it, guys. I was really hungry and then I started eating and it just sort of made everything disappear out of my head. So, out of curiosity, does anybody on this live stream go to Gen Con? And if you are someone who's gone to Gen Con in the past, are you thinking of going this year? I'm a hardcore Gen Con fan. And I didn't go last year. For me, it just felt like too risky. Keto Palooza was like the biggest risk I was willing to take. And that was really primarily due to the wonderful people, many of whom are here. But it was also a lot smaller and I just felt safer. So I don't know. I don't know. And they're having it this year. And I went to OhioCon, but I just don't know. And it feels kind of weird to be questioning it after having gone to like 27 Gen Cons, and then now suddenly I'm not going to any Gen Cons. So, but I'm really on the fence about it. The Caboodle Bry is saying we should stuff this in the poblano and then wrap the poblano in bacon. We're really hell-bent on wrapping stuff in bacon. Mm. Oh, Raikkonen says they want to go to Keto Palooza. I am going to Keto Palooza. I have my ticket. I have my hotel room. I have the time off already. So I do have to do some work while I'm there, but it's easy as long as it's not vastly different from last Keto Palooza, where I had plenty of time in the early morning, because it seems like a lot of people are not morning people. So last Keto Palooza, I was able to get up, I would do my work, I would contact my team, I would get out and work out a little bit, and even get outside and wander around or go for a little bike ride, all kinds of stuff. And by the time I got back and got re-showered and everything, people would be rising and getting up to do stuff for the con. So that was kind of cool, and I think that I look forward to that. Mm. So, a couple things here. Oh, Bacon says it's J-Dog says bacon is the glue of life. Blue Dove says they've always wanted to do a big con, but big crowds make them a little panicky. Now, here's the thing: Gen Con can be overwhelming and absolutely can be way too crowded and anxiety inducing. However, you can avoid all of that. And they actually have a quiet room and a quiet space. There's also some room upstairs in the convention center where there are way less people, and you can always hang out there. It's really good. So if you go and you are getting suddenly very overwhelmed, you go up a level and around back to where everything is, and there's suddenly a lot of very mellow space. It's also not too far from the canal, and even though it is like Satan's front porch portion of summer, it's still nice to go outside, and you can go hang out by the canal and get away from everybody and enjoy that. I see several people saying that they're going to KetoCon. I can't do KetoCon. It's just the wrong time of the year, and it is way too much money to come from Ohio. So let's see. Oh, Shauna says they'll be back in a few. The highway traffic has come to a standstill, so they're hitting their favorite grill for a tri-tip. Sounds like a great plan to me. I love tri-tip. Enjoy. Mm. I just felt like something tickling the back of my head. We've had, for some reason, a couple little ladybugs show up, and it probably was one of those. I do not know what they are doing at this time of the year, but okay. I'll have to get some traps for them. Let's see. And Raikkonen says they did a sci-fi con in Toronto one year. We used to do a lot of cons, but haven't done so recently. I enjoy sci-fi cons, but I really prefer board game cons. I really love them. And I've come around to a lot of the anime conventions. They're actually a lot of fun, especially if they are anime plus gaming. A one-track mind, I guess. And Blue Dove says they have GM'd at a smaller local con. Maybe once they've gotten more comfortable with traveling. Yeah, 100%. It's worth it to go to some of the cons in other areas. Mm. Sorry for the awkward silence there for a minute. I just was finishing chewing and then swallowing, and now I'm looking at my coffee, and it's almost there. Has anyone ever gone to the keto shoot, what's it called? Anyways, it's in Connecticut. I don't remember what it's called, but it's put on by the two keto dudes, of which is now Carrie Brown and Carl, with Richard guest starring. Oh. Renee says they're just doing Tattoo Con. We have a tattoo convention up here in Columbus. Oh, Raikkonen and I have been to Dragon Con many times. And they started getting too close together, Dragon Con and Gen Con, and eventually I had to choose. And while Dragon Con has always been a big on the parties, in the last like 5 or 6 years, pre-COVID, it started getting even heavier on the party, and I started getting older and less excited about partying my ass off. So I started choosing Gen Con. But I do love Dragon Con, and I do have a soft spot in it. Is where I have met some of my favorite people. And I know many people who go every single year to Dragon Con and wouldn't miss it for the world. I used to, the last time I went, I stayed in the Fairfield Inn, and it felt almost like I was like, oh my God, I'm in the murder hotel. So I have to find a different hotel if I go next time I make it down there. So, oh, Blue Dove, if Dragon Con is on your bucket list, do it 100%. It is an awesome time. It is amazing. But it is crowded, and it's Atlanta. So find good parking and then plan on walking and Uber if you want to do things outside of the convention. Park your car and just leave it be. That is the best advice I can tell you. The other thing I can tell you, and this applies to any of the really big cons, Dragon Con, Gen Con, PAX East, Geekway to the Midwest, and PAX Unplugged. Before you go, about a month ahead of time, buy yourself some new sneakers and start wearing them and break them in so you don't have new shoes right at the con. You don't want old shoes that are already all broken down because you walk and you walk and you walk and you walk. So those are definitely things you want to do. Oh, and J-Dog says his nephew is official member of the Mandalorian cosplay and is official maker of approved Mandalorian gear. Awesome. That sounds great. We 3D printed ours and bought a pattern off of, I can't remember. I think it was Thingiverse. Well, we bought several patterns and then picked like our favorite pieces out of all of them and blended it together to make our own creations. I'm having one more. I didn't need to scoop it. It holds up now. Just so you know. Oh, and J-Dog says his nephew has a TikTok channel called Ted of All Trades. I'm going to look that up later and add it into my TikTok. Although, I keep adding all of these extra things, and I just want you to know that all of these TikTok channels you recommend me, and when I follow you guys, you're soon going to screw up my finely tuned barbecue and hot lesbian algorithm. So, you know, I have to think about these things. J-Dog says, oh, he also sells on Etsy. Cool, that's good to know. Oh, and Air Fried Annie says their tri-tip and burnt ends will be brought to them. That's nice. Let's see. Oh, and Lisa says that KetoCon will be the same weekend as the Comic Con in Austin. So you could go to both. Oh, and Renee is asking what's in these balls, which are actually turned out to be fritters, but still tasty. It's Spam. I know. Ground up fine, mixed with green chilies, a hatch green chili, and then mayonnaise, cheddar cheese. I used freeze-dried onion and garlic and cumin and black pepper. I mushed that all together. Then I rolled it in egg and then breaded it with pork panko. So that was it. And then deep fried, or not deep fried, air fried at 400 for 15 minutes. Oh, and Twong says, yes, please, on the spam musubi. All right. We're just going to have a spam theme. That works for me. I think it sounds great. All right. And we have hit 8 o'clock. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off the live stream. It was really good seeing all of you guys. Thanks for hanging in with me through these crazy food experiments. I'll upload something fun tomorrow and see you guys later. Thanks again. I really enjoy chatting with you guys and sharing all my coffee adventures. So, see you soon and talk to you later. Oh, and before we go, Renee's asking how I ground the spam. Cowboy Kent Rollins used a cheese grater and grated it. I was lazy and I just diced mine up real fine and then mashed it a little bit with a fork. Now I'm really signing off. And feel free to add your questions, any additional questions or commentary to the comments. And I'll get back to it a little bit later. All right. Bye-bye.